our founder claims, this right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum. Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with ChristoLight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters in crystal healing. Ashe.
I bet you didn't know the Ascended Masters show up in your timeline. Or maybe you did, but not like this. Stick around. Christo is back to refresh who the Ascended Masters are, what they do, and how they influence your spiritual timeline. Expect clear insights, practical takeaways, and a fresh map for your soul's journey. Hit subscribe and don't miss the drop. New episode soon.
Hello. Grand day, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining a fresh new episode of Grand Rising with ChristoLight. Now, yesterday, we capped off our sub-series for the archangels. So I went on a series of talking about all of the different archangels of the Archangel Council. So we deep dove into all of the individuals from Archangel Michael to Ariel to Raziel to Christiel, and to even mystical archangels that we don't hear about as much, such as Archangel Orion. Now, what's fascinating is when we dissected and deep dove into these studies of the archangels, we came to a remembrance and we came to a realization that these angels aren't just fictitious, but they are of divine order. And what do I mean by divine order? Well, we're going to be touching a little bit more on what divine order is exactly tomorrow on Thursday's episode. Excuse me. On Thursday's episode, as we are going to be uncovering the Law of One. So we're going to be talking about what the Law of One means, what the Law of One is, and how we connect and how we relate to it as human beings in this universe that we are in. So that'll be tomorrow. Now, today, we are going to be doing a recap, and we're going to be going over and refreshing ourselves on who the Ascended Masters are, what place they hold in this universe, and how they're interconnected to us as human beings and part of one consciousness as well. So this can be a great episode if you're someone that is either a beginner to the Ascended Masters, or if you're an adept and you're a well-developed, seasoned veteran when it comes to this knowledge. It's going to be a great space for any level when it comes to the understanding of what the Ascended Masters are in this universe. And it's pretty exciting too, once you really come into that real relationship, that real understanding and conscious realization of, oh, these Ascended Masters are just a higher aspect of my own consciousness. And they're here to help reflect and be archetypes while we're on this temporary incarnation journey in these lower dimensions. And we're going to talk about that more. So before we dive into this episode today, recapping and refreshing ourselves on the Ascended Masters, let's go ahead and take a rewind to yesterday and check out the last archangel that we talked about in our sub-series.
Marcus ChristoLight wraps up our deep dive into the Archangelic Council today, shining light on Archangel Christiel and her unicorn. Cozy your
Heard of ChristoLight from Diana Cooper, and you guys are going to hear from Diana Cooper a little bit later in the episode. And she introduced him/her as an archangel of the moon and associated with the causal chakra. So just as I mentioned in the beginning, Archangel ChristoLight is connected to the subconscious causal chakra. And then that's also correlated to the moon, that white silvery energy ChristoLight offers. Archangel ChristoLight beams cosmic solar light through the gate of Lyra, a 12th dimensional stargate connecting the 12th dimensional earth realm with the higher dimensions of light. You might even call our transmission one of pure source light, with the highest intent to renew divine feminine Christ consciousness on earth. So in other words, she's one of the main catalysts that helps anchor the Sophianic body, or the Sophia, the divine mother feminine, down into these 12 dimensions of our earth realm. Light and clear experience of the crystalline Christ and source level grids. Connecting with ChristoLight's beautiful presence feels vast, powerful, and honestly a bit intense. Her light serves to expand your consciousness while assisting you in integrating and balancing the higher levels of light in a way that you can access here in the physical, and through your higher dimensional, multi-dimensional levels of awareness. This includes filling your body, mind, emotions. Causal chakra, or the past life chakra, is located 3 to 4 inches behind the center of the back of the head. The color is white or silver, and it vibrates in the 4th dimension. To facilitate this, we need to be able to detach ourselves from our learned, conditioned beliefs. That's right. So I would say when we awaken, you gotta unlearn to relearn, because you gotta cleanse out ground, and then just gently have that crystal tucked against the back of your head. The crystal's energy field will start syncing with the energy field of your causal chakra. And then from there, you can do affirmations, frequency.
Right through the moon, and are enfolded in its peace. Even more. Relax. Receive deeper healing.
So I think we got to kind of rewrite the depths and levels of what it is that we're feeding to these generations of what the human anatomy is in the first place. If we're not talking about this right here, then I don't think we're doing true justice on what the human anatomy is. Because this is the operations that allow the material self to even be existing. What a statement to leave off on our recap of the last episode. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but if we have all these different aspects of ourselves that really do make up the human being, such as an energy field, a torus field, a chakra system, as well as very, very divinely intelligently designed, interconnected mind, body, emotion systems with our spiritual connection as well. I think it's just not doing justice if we're not talking about it. Why wouldn't we be talking about our mind, body, emotion system that allows us to have a well-being, that allows us to function, and that gives us the ability to have a human existence in the first place? So when you really think about that, that's how out of touch we have been as a collective species when it comes to the awareness of ourself. And it's been by design. It's been by design for sure. There's a lot of negative agendas and a lot of manipulation and programming and inverted matrices that get programmed into our beings. And it's part of the reason why we're here. is to help uncover and unveil these divine aspects of ourselves that have been painted as, negative or demonic or, just far out there or voodoo like stuff, when really it's all just nature. It's just the organic blueprint, the organic construction that the creator made. And that's how reversed it's all been. They have us thinking that nature, isn't made by the hands of the creator with specific organic medicine and frequencies for us as organic beings of the earth, but instead to believe in an artificial and synthetic world, like pharmaceuticals that are clearly not healing us. Leave it at, I'm not going to get my fire too passionate about these things because then we'll hold this about it. So, anyhow, our last archangel was Archangel Christiel. Archangel Christiel is the divine feminine force, or she represents the divine feminine force that projects down into our 12 dimensions, kind of like Andromeda, higher heavenly energies, but she represents the divine Sophia energy. And you guys can check out more just going to the playlist on the YouTube channel, Sacred Light Broadcast Network. All right, so now that we're done with the archangels, we're going to be diving into our recap about who the Ascended Masters are, what their role is, and how we relate to them in this human life. And then after we go over the reading and text of the Ascended Masters, I'm then going to kind of give you guys a little perspective of a few different types of Ascended Masters, what they represent, and how it is that you can consciously engage with them in your everyday living. So as we begin, I also want to invite you guys out, as there is potentially one more spot left for next month in May for the Costa Rica retreat.
5 days in Jocko Beach, cacao ceremonies, sunset sailing, and finding your inner light. This May, Sacred Light is calling you to Costa Rica for the most transformative spring retreat of your life. Picture yourself waking up at Jocko Bay Towers, steps from pristine beaches. For 5 magical days, May 16th through 20th, you'll journey through legendary waterfalls, connect with sloths and monkeys at Manuel Antonio National Park, and experience the wonder of bioluminescence under starlit skies. Led by quantum shaman Marcus ChristoLight, Dr. Rhonda Clark, and sound healing master Sadanam Singh, you'll dive deep into sacred cacao ceremonies, beach yoga at sunrise, and healing sound baths that awaken your soul. Every vegan meal is crafted with love. Every excursion designed to reconnect you with nature's magic. All of this paradise awaits for just $1,111 solo, or $1,777 for 2 souls ready to transform together. Spaces are limited and filling fast. Register now through the link below, grab your passport, and step into the light. Paradise is calling your name this spring.
So yeah, retreat coming up next month, May 16th to the 20th. different retreats and things like that. This is an opportunity to really, number one, stay in a condo on the beach. Number two, to be in this tropical paradise of Costa Rica. Number three, the nature excursions, horseback riding on the beach, connecting with monkeys and sloth in the real, raw, organic environment, being able to do potentially some sailing, bioluminescence at night, the waterfalls. And then on top of that, acting in that grid, receiving sound baths, meditations, cacao ceremonies, plant-based meals, all of that. There is still space. Let me know if you're interested. We can go through the process and get you out there with us. So with that being said, DJ, drop it. Boom, boom, boom. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our text for this episode. And this text is gonna help us go over and come to an understanding of the Ascended Masters and who they are. There's the vibes. Thank you, DJ. All right. Who are the Ascended Masters? Who are the Ascended Masters? Who are the Ascended Masters, Rhonda?
What you can call on
Mm-hmm.
for inspiration, helpful, whatever you need.
Pretty much. Rhonda gave us an answer, everyone. I'm not sure if you guys heard it, but she said that they're those that we can call on and receive help and assistance from in our daily life. So yeah, that definitely is like a very very short and brief way to explain what the Ascended Masters are and their roles. So we're gonna go ahead and deep dive into this text and come into an even more detailed understanding as well. So this is ascendedmasterresources.com for anybody that would like to connect and check this out on their own. And I always advise that as students of the universe, we do our own research. Do your own research, follow your own intuition, and trust and believe in your own experiences that you have as well. I know a lot of us are gaslit in this world by the experiences that we have, especially non-physical. So just remember that you're not going to experience anything that is not meant to be true to you. Now, I'm not sure where that came from in this moment, but I really like that quote. But to believe in what is true to you through your experiences. Because we all have a unique experience. All right, who are the Ascended Masters? The Ascended Masters are beings who have risen beyond the human level of consciousness and are dedicated to helping us do the same. The Masters offer us teachings and tools that can help us reconnect to the purpose for which we are an embodiment on this difficult planet. So just to shatter whatever attachment we may have to the word masters at this time, if this term masters, this is not applied to the way that masters is being used in this modern time. You know, in this modern time, our origin of words, our origin of text, it has been very mistranslated, it's been very diluted, and it's been very manipulated. And what I'm saying by that is, when we're talking about masters, we're talking about masters of the self. We're talking about beings that decided to master their own mind, body, emotions, their own inner self. And through the mastery of their own self, they were able to find their place in this universe, their divine purpose with the Creator. And they chose, after incarnating and having these human lives, to then become angelic or higher dimensional teachers for this third dimensional plane of the earth that we are incarnated in for this temporary time. So just like how we have, people that study and they practice for years, they become a master of their study. We don't question that, we don't project onto that because someone's a master of their craft or their study. So this is the same exact thing in a way. These beings have mastered what it means to incarnate and be a human being. And guess what? This might be a bell ringer for some of us. The human being is not the greatest form of life. It's not the only form of life either. And it's not the only way to have a journey and the only way to incarnate and to experience life in this universe. It's just one of trillions and billions and millions different forms and bodies to be able to incarnate and experience as. We can incarnate down in the first dimension where we're just a tree. We can incarnate in the second dimension as a dog or a cat on the earth. We can incarnate in the third dimensional body as a human being. These are all valid, conscious, living experiences. And the human one is not more valid than the dog one. And the dog one is not more valid than the human life. They're all valid lives with consciousness and life. So here's another thing. Since we are on the earth and now we are incarnated into a third dimensional body, that means we have mastered the second dimension of earth. So we already know what it's like to be an animal. We know what it's like to be a plant or an element. And that is why we're now incarnated in a third dimensional body on the earth. And that is also why we know how to maintain gardens. We know how to maintain agriculture. We know how to bring life to plants because we've already mastered the first dimension. We know how to take care of pets and animals in the second dimension because as human beings, we have already mastered the second dimension. So we already have an understanding of how to make a dog survive, how to make a cat survive. So now here we are in this third dimension, mastering this third dimension as a human being. And once we master this third dimension of ourselves, then we're able to evolve in our consciousness to the fourth dimension. And then we start embodying and going through the test and the mastery of the fourth dimension. And then it's a continuation. This is what the ascension process is. We're all on the ascension process as a human being. We incarnate in this lower dimension. Now we have the free will choice. Do I follow the light and continue to ascend? Or with my free will, do I continue to stay in these lower dimensions? And it's all your free will. That's the gift. It's all free will. You can choose when you want to ascend. You can choose if you want to continue to descend in consciousness. There's no right or wrong to what you experience in this universe. It's all about cause and effect, understanding the laws behind the mechanics of energy and how consciousness works in this world. That's all there is to it. It's free will. Wow, I did not expect all that. Beautiful. Welcome in to the new people in the space. If you guys have any comments about what I've shared, feel free to drop them in the comments. This is a very interactive space. I love interacting with you guys live, especially while I am live. I know I stream a lot of content, but I'm only live a couple of times a week, if that. So really take advantage of the opportunity while I'm here. I love to ask questions or answer questions. Also give you guys thought-provoking questions as well, and help you guys connect to these energies. So yeah, I hope that kind of helped a little bit, or I kind of trust that it did. The understanding of what it means when we say ascended master. You know, it's not that we're saying like these are like some like godly, all-encompassing beings that we have to bow down and worship to, and you know, like we're nothing without them in our life. It's not that. It's just they're here to serve. They're just there unconditionally to help serve us while we're in this third dimension, which is very dense, very chaotic, very confusing, and also soul-sucking at the same time. And we can all not deny that. This is a hard place to live. So that is why we have what we call ascended masters. And again, they're only called ascended masters because that is how we can understand it from down here in the third dimension. They are more ascended than our human ego, our human third dimensional perspective. And they're masters of the human life. They've already gone through incarnations as humans. They chose as a soul to no longer incarnate and to hold space from a higher position and to project down different rays of light, different energies into these lower dimensions. And this is where figures with elephant heads come in, lion heads, Buddha, Ganesh, like all these different figures, Ra, they start conceiving. But really all these different figures, they're just illusionary sound, light, material form to help project their energy and consciousness for us as human beings to be able to understand and connect to them. If we don't have a bridge down here in the third dimension to understand ninth dimensional energy, then it's going to be very difficult to integrate and to be able to receive the messages and information. So that's why figures have to represent themselves in a sense of like Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is represented by blue flaming energy, as well as a flaming sword of truth. Those symbols, because everything is symbolic here in the third dimension, those symbols are just reference points pointing you to different archetypes of energy that you get to invoke and channel into your third dimensional reality. And this is normal. This is what we do as human beings. We're doing it every day. We're just either conscious or not conscious of it. It's not about good or bad. It's not about doing magic or anything like that. This is just life. All right, let me get on my passion and continue reading. Boy. And again, welcome in everyone. This is what we do here. We get passionate, speak the truth, give the knowledge of self. There's no need to lie here. No more lies in this life. It's been a war on our organic and nature. This is organic life. This is nature. All right. Wow, we didn't even get to the second paragraph. All right. So it is important to consider that the Ascended Masters can help us because they have risen to a state of consciousness that is fundamentally above ours. And keep in mind too, we're souls. We're not just human bodies. You know, we're in this temporary incarnation for a temporary moment. We're going to learn things. We're going to acquire things. We're going to release things. That's a guarantee. But this goes into what's beyond just a physical life. because we are before this physical life and we are after it. So we got to understand that when we identify ourselves, we're identifying as a spiritual light being that is just going through temporary incarnations. And it's a journey rather than a destination. Okay, so therefore, if we think we can fully understand or grasp what ascended masters are from our level of consciousness, we make it harder for ourselves to transcend our current level of consciousness. We need to be careful to realize that there is much to say about who and what ascended masters are, and no simplistic explanation will suffice. However, the most universal way to explain who the ascended masters are is to say that they are the spiritual teachers for all human beings on the earth. The ascended masters have chosen to take on the task of helping us raise our consciousness individually and collectively to a higher level than what we have now. This is not an easy task because human beings are at many different levels of consciousness. Not to mention we have free will. So you think they got it easy over there? I mean, they've had to anchor in what it means to be a human being so they can have compassion for us. Because boy, as you guys know, on here on the earth, we get very irritated, very lack of patience. So that's why we have ascended masters that don't get irritated and do have patience for humans. So a quick look at the history and the present situation show that people's outer behavior, their beliefs and opinions cover a broad spectrum. Therefore, the ascended masters cannot help all people in the same way. The masters must adapt what they offer people to their level of consciousness, and we can talk about two different levels. The vast majority of people are not at a level of consciousness where they are ready to consciously acknowledge the existence of ascended masters. And that's okay. So if you're someone that feels like they do exist, but maybe you've been gaslit or you just haven't had the support around you to confirm it, this is your confirmation. And just because others aren't ready to accept or be aware of it, doesn't mean it's not reality. Some people have risen to the level of consciousness where recognizing ascended masters is the next logical step in their personal growth process. Ascended masters have worked with the earth for a very long time, but for most of that time span, they have remained anonymous or unknown. They have attempted to give both spiritual and practical ideas that could raise people's consciousness. This has resulted in a raising of the collective consciousness, as can be seen by the emergence of democracy and increasing sensitivity to life and human rights. The collective consciousness is always raised by a few people becoming open to certain new ideas that then gradually spread to more and more people until a shift occurs. Examples of such shifts are the emergence of democracy, the abolishment of slavery, and increasing equality given to women. As the collective consciousness has been raised, the ascended masters have started making their existence known in many ways that all people can find through books and the internet. This has caused an increasing number of people to become aware of the existence of ascended masters, to consciously study the teachings given by the masters, and to use the spiritual tools released by the masters. And again, masters, as in those that have mastered what it means to incarnate as a human being. They have already gone through their trials and tribulations. Now they have transcended needing to learn lessons as a human being. Now they're taking their wisdom and their spiritual experiences, and they're holding space for us while we're incarnated in this third dimension. This website is not meant for all people. Disclaimer. It is dedicated to those who are open to the existence of ascended masters and who are willing to make conscious use of the teachings and tools released here. By making use of these teachings, you can raise one's own consciousness and improve your own life situation. Make a contribution to raising the collective consciousness. Help the planet rise above many of the problems that we see today. Find the sense of purpose and direction that you have probably been searching for all of your life. How will you know if the teachings of the Ascended Masters are for you? You can only know from within, through your intuition. You are ready for these teachings. You have probably already developed your intuition. It is a matter of tuning in to the sensation you get in your heart as you study the teachings or experiment with the tools. If this is for you, you will know so from within. How the Ascended Masters give direct teachings. The Ascended Masters have given teachings publicly for over a century, using several different people as messengers for a direct teaching. And one of those that is sticking out to me right now to bring up to you guys is Elizabeth Clare Prophet. She has been a tremendous example, going back to what feels like the last wave of Starseed, Ascended Mastery teachings and energies. She has just such phenomenal, I almost want to call them sermons, because she stands up there like in a traditional church and just channels these teachings and the light language and energies of so many divine figures like Violet Flame, Lady Nada, Saint Germain, Yeshua, so many awesome figures. But her name's Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and you can find her all over YouTube and Google, of course. Maybe I'll even grab a little clip for you guys at the end. There was one that she was channeling, the Violet Flame, that we were watching a couple of weeks ago. And wow, she was getting into that Violet Flame channeling. Okay. So how the Ascended Masters give direct teachings. So yeah, they use different humans as channels. The teaching is openly declared to come directly from the Ascended Masters, meaning the human messenger is not the originator of the teaching. The teaching comes through the mind of the messenger, and this may give the teaching a certain cultural coloring, but the teaching is far beyond what the messenger's mind could produce on its own. That's like a very key point right there to understanding channeling. So, if you have people that are trying to like kind of gatekeep and take all of the glory for the channels that come through them without understanding that the channels are coming from a higher source than their own ego, then it can distort the actual original messages. So keep in mind of that, when you're receiving your channels and who you're getting your channelings from. Are they basing things from the ego, or are they actually really truly humble and full of honor and gratitude to the messages that come through? The Ascended Masters have used different messengers in different capacities, but the most direct teaching given is through what is called dictation. This is where a messenger has been trained to raise his or her own consciousness to a higher level than normal and tune into an Ascended Master, who then speaks directly through the messenger's mind and vocal cords. The Master is dictating a message to the messenger, hence the name of such message is dictations. So they call it dictations. Modern day, you hear it called channeling. Dictation is not what is normally called channeling. Oh, because a messenger from the Ascended Masters is not in a trance. Ah, that's fascinating. That's interesting. Now I just realized what I do naturally. That's so cool. So some of us may actually be doing this, dictating, not exactly channeling. Because I actually do this more than channeling. I'm never really in a trance state much. I'm just very conscious of the channeling. So a dictation is when you are not in trance and fully conscious. The messenger could stop the process at any time. Yep, that is very true. The messenger is in a neutral state of mind and is therefore not deliberately coloring or distorting the message. That is how I channel right there. Very fascinating to find out. However, the message is coming through the messenger's mind, meaning is adapted to the messenger's language and knowledge and the cultural background and knowledge of the messenger. For example, if the messenger knows very little about quantum physics, the masters cannot give a dictation about that topic. The masters work by multiplying what is in the messenger's consciousness. Although this limits what the masters can say, it also has the advantage of making the message more relevant and understandable to people from the same cultural background as the messenger. Of course, this also means no single messenger can bring forth all the teachings that the masters want to release on earth. No messenger or organization ever has had or ever will have a monopoly on the ascended masters. That's right. You'll never be able to monopolize the ascended masters. That will always backfire on you. I will say that very clearly for anyone out there. You try to take advantage of ascended master energies, you will definitely feel a lot of retribution. And I don't say that out of fear. I say that out of karma. You don't want to awaken the negative side of our ascended masters. They will put you in your own karmic fire if you need to be. Why are the ascended masters valuable to us? Before we actually begin this section of the text, I'm gonna go ahead and give us a nice little mix-up and let us watch a little video about the history of the ascended masters.
Welcome to another enlightening episode of our channel, where we explore the profound mysteries of the universe and spiritual wisdom from the ages. Today, we'll be uncovering the fascinating history of ascended masters, spiritual beings who are said to have transcended the cycle of reincarnation and now guide humanity from higher realms. So who are these ascended masters? Where did the concept come from? And what do they teach? Let's embark on this spiritual journey together. The belief in spiritually enlightened beings goes back thousands of years. In many ancient cultures, individuals who had achieved deep spiritual understanding were revered as wise teachers, prophets, or divine intermediaries. While the term ascended master wasn't used yet, the concept of spiritually advanced beings can be found in the mysticism of ancient Egypt, India, and Tibet. These traditions taught that certain individuals could reach higher states of consciousness, becoming one with divine wisdom and light. One of the earliest examples of what we might call an ascended master is Siddhartha Gautama, or the Buddha. In Buddhism, it's believed that through deep meditation and detachment from worldly desires, he reached a state of enlightenment and liberated himself from the cycle of death and rebirth, also known as samsara. In Hinduism, divine beings such as Krishna and Rama are considered avatars, incarnations of divine consciousness on earth, similar to the idea of an ascended master who has come to guide and uplift humanity. While Eastern spiritual traditions offer a clear lineage of enlightened beings, Western mystical traditions have their own parallels. The teachings of the Neoplatonists, like Plotinus, suggested that through inner purification and contemplation, the soul could ascend to higher planes of existence, merging with the One, a state of divine unity. Early Christian mystics also wrote about saints and holy figures who, through deep communion with God, transcended earthly limitations and served as spiritual guides for humanity. But the modern concept of ascended masters truly began to take shape in the late 19th century with the rise of Theosophy, a spiritual movement that sought to blend Eastern wisdom with Western esoteric traditions. One of the key figures in this movement was Helena Blavatsky, a Russian mystic and the founder of the Theosophical Society. Blavatsky claimed to be in contact with highly evolved spiritual beings she called Mahatmases or masters. These beings, she said, were living in secret retreats in the Himalayas and were guiding humanity's spiritual evolution. In the early 20th century, the teachings of the Ascended Masters were expanded by another prominent theosophist, Alice Bailey. She claimed to have channeled the teachings of a Tibetan master known as Jawal Khul, often referred to simply as the Tibetan. Bailey's work introduced the idea that these masters belonged to a spiritual hierarchy, a network of enlightened beings working together to help humanity evolve into its highest spiritual potential. These teachings emphasized concepts like the 7 rays, which represent different qualities of divine energy that guide our spiritual development. One of the most influential figures in modern Ascended Master teachings is Guy Ballard, the founder of the I Am movement in the 1930s. Ballard claimed to have had a mystical encounter with the Ascended Master Saint Germain while hiking on Mount Shasta, a place long considered to be a hub of spiritual energy. According to Ballard, Saint Germain revealed secret spiritual truths to him, including how humanity could ascend by mastering divine principles of love, forgiveness, and personal empowerment. Today, the teachings of the Ascended Masters continue to inspire millions around the world. Spiritual groups like the Summit Lighthouse and the Ageless Wisdom teachings follow the path of Ascended Masters, practicing meditation, prayer, and invoking divine light to raise their own consciousness. Many believe that the Masters are guiding humanity through a period of spiritual awakening, helping us shift from an era of materialism and conflict into a new age of unity, peace, and enlightenment. So, who are the Ascended Masters? They are said to be beings who have walked the earth, experienced human struggles, and transcended them to become guides for our spiritual evolution. Whether you see them as real, mystical beings, or powerful archetypes representing our highest potential, their teachings remind us that the path to enlightenment is open to all who seek it. Have you ever felt a connection to an Ascended Master? Do you believe that these enlightened beings are guiding humanity toward a higher purpose? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and share any experiences you've had with these spiritual guides. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the history of Ascended Masters. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow seekers of truth. Until next time, keep shining your light on the path of wisdom and love.
All right. So that was a lovely recap video of what the Ascended Masters are and some examples as well. Now, I do have another video for you guys here in a moment that's going to talk about really some more about, what the Ascended Masters are, how to connect with them. Just really nicely bundle up all this information that we've gone over. And then I have a little treat. I'm going to play a video that goes through and talks about the different locations on the earth where you can experience the etheric or the spiritual retreat centers of the different Ascended Masters. All right, so continuing our text. Why are the Ascended Masters valuable to us? So the greatest potential value of the Ascended Masters is that they are in a distinctly higher state of consciousness than we are. The masters have transcended all human selfishness, opinion, prejudice, fear, and illusion. They are also beyond any particular authority figure, organized nationality, or culture on the earth that is bound to such human ego. So this is why they say seek God. Seek God's creation, seek the organic life of God, not from man, not from those that are bound to karma, bound to ego, but to seek those that have transcended that already. And that's where the archangels come in. It's where the ascended masters come in, as well as the galactic councils that we have. Now you got to be mindful of what you're connecting with. There's negative polarity beings and positive polarity. And along with that, there's also false light, false prophets. So there is a level of discernment within all this as well. So the only question is whether people are open to the masters. So it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your culture, doesn't matter your belief system. All you have to do is just be open to the archetype or the energies of the ascended masters, because they far exceed all of that. The ascended masters see the world from a distinctly different perspective than we do. The value of this is that the masters can offer us a frame of reference that does three things. Number one, shows us that there is a state of consciousness that is above and beyond what we call normal human consciousness. There's something outside of our mental box. It is possible for a self-aware being to rise above the normal human consciousness and reach the higher consciousness of the ascended masters. We can all do this, but in order to do it, we have to become more aware than we are now. There is a systematic path that we can follow, and it leads from wherever we are in consciousness right now to the expanded awareness of the ascended state. We too can become ascended masters and thereby rise above all human suffering and limitation. This is called the spiritual path, or the path of the straight and narrow, or the Christ conscious path. This higher state of awareness is the way whereby we can rise above all personal problems and limitations. It is also the only viable way to help the planet rise above all man-made problems. This can happen because we are all part of the collective consciousness, and when we raise our awareness individually, we pull up on the collective. However, while the expanded awareness of the masters is the greatest potential value, it is also the most difficult to grasp. So don't expect yourself to understand this in the first time. Don't force yourself or be hard on yourself if you're not catching on right away to what this all means. This is very deep. This is the deepest level of awareness when it comes to this human journey. The reason is that while we are still blinded by the veil of illusions that make up what we call normal human awareness, it is very difficult to grasp what it is like to be free of this veil. We tend to evaluate everything based on our limited vision, wanting every new idea to conform to and validate what we think is truth. This is illustrated by Greek philosopher Plato in his allegory of the cave. The allegory states that there was a cave in which a group of people were chained in such a way that they could only see a wall that was opposite the entrance to the cave. Outside the cave, other people were walking around, but the people inside the cave could only see the shadows that these people cast upon the wall. The people in the cave were trying to figure out what life was like outside the cave, but they could only see the shadows of the real world. People have traditionally used any idea in an attempt to validate what they already believe. It is possible to do this with the teachings given by the ascended masters, but if we do this, we cannot free ourselves from our current state of consciousness. The question we face is, will we try to pull the teachings of the ascended masters into our current mental box, or will we use the teachings to gradually challenge our illusions and expand the box? If we do the former, we will not raise our consciousness to a distinctly higher level. If we do the latter, we can gradually expand our mental box until there is no more box, and we can walk out of Plato's cave and see the world as Ascended Masters see it. Great one to digest right there. In our last paragraph of this reading, the entire purpose of this and the other websites is to help you walk the spiritual path that leads to a higher state of awareness. Everything has been done to explain this path in its different stages. How you apply the teaching is entirely up to you, as the Ascended Masters have ultimate respect for free will. And that is by Kim Michaels. And again, it's ascendedmastersresources.com. And honestly, just what a brilliant article to give such clear detail about the Ascended Masters. So let's talk about this real quick. The hierarchy of Ascended Masters. Now, when we say hierarchy, this is another thing here where I'm not referencing hierarchy in the tainted version that we have manipulated this term for in this world. Hierarchy does not mean the sense of, oh, this person is a king or queen, therefore everyone below them is a subject to them. That's not what I'm saying by hierarchy. Now, when I say hierarchy, I'm talking about positions. We each have a position that we play when it comes to making the collective what it is. So the hierarchy is just explaining that there are different levels of consciousness. And in those different levels of consciousness, there's different tasks of service, and there's different purposes to maintain, depending on that level of hierarchy that you're in. And that level of hierarchy that you're in, it's also affecting and it's helping maintain the other levels at the same time. So hierarchy, think about it. You're in a third dimensional human experience. You're going to be down here in the density. You're like down here in the density scale. Then you have a angelic being that is embodied and living in a fifth dimensional embodiment. And they're going to be right up here vibrationally. Now, our bodies are different bodies because we're in different dimensions. And we're not able to fully grasp and sense them through our physical third dimensional senses. So the way that we're able to grasp them is through symbolism, time, and things like that. That's where colors come in. That's where angel numbers come in. That's where symbolic representations of a flaming blue sword comes in. That is being projected from up here down into these dimensions, so then it reaches you in the third dimension. So it can be a clear signal of connecting with Archangel Michael or whoever else you're connecting with. So that's a hierarchy right there. They're up here in this dimension, we're down here in this dimension. It's not about good or bad, it just is. This is the energy and vibration that we're in. It's interconnected and it's relative. And we connect with each other, we exchange. So that's the hierarchy. So let us begin with our vantage point here on Earth. The material universe is made from energies that vibrate with a certain spectrum. Right above the spectrum is the lowest level of the spiritual realm. There are other realms above this stretching through 6 spheres to the Creator. In each of these spheres, there is a hierarchy of spiritual beings. The material realm was created by beings in the realm right above us in vibration. Thus, these beings are what we normally call Ascended Masters. The Masters also use the name Ascended Host, and this refers to all beings in a spheres above us. However, many of these beings do interact with us here on Earth. So from our vantage point, we can talk about several levels of the hierarchy that exist in the sphere right above ours. Let us look at the most well-known. The newly ascended masters. When a being ascends from the material world, it usually takes some time to explore its new self-awareness in the spiritual realm to which it now can conscious access. Yet some masters have already been involved with human teachings before they ascended, so they may indeed immediately begin to fill a teaching position. Now, I feel like that's like Bruce Lee, like Bruce Lee is one of those newly ascended masters. Dolores Cannon, like figures like that. That is undoubtedly, we're here to shift the whole entire world. Yeah, Michael Jackson, definitely ascended master energy. So the Kohans. There are 7 spiritual rays, which are the basic energy spectra from which the material universe is made. Now there's more rays, but then the more rays outside the 7 transcend the material world. That's when we start getting to the etheric, astral, and things of that nature. So in order to walk the spiritual path and qualify for the ascension, we must attain mastery on all 7 rays. And our personal 7 rays are represented by our 7 chakras. 7 chakras, 7 rays. So when you master your chakras, then you attain self-mastery of your 3rd dimensional self. And then you graduate into your 12 chakra system and you try to master your 12 chakra system. To facilitate this learning, each ray has several ascended masters who are seeking to help us pass the initiations represented by their ray. The leaders of this group of teachings is called the Kohan. Thus, each ray has a Kohan, who is kind of like the headmaster of a particular school. The Kohans normally represent themselves as masculine or feminine. Not all Kohans have a counterpart of the complementary polarity. For example, a masculine Kohan may not have a feminine counterpart, either because the feminine counterpart has not yet ascended, or because it has moved on to other realms and is not directly working with the earth. That's intriguing. And we're going to actually go through the Kohans of the 7 rays so you guys can have awareness of that as well. It's going to be a really fun episode. Oh, the archangels. So one branch of ascended beings who are not created to take embodiment is the angels. Now, what it means by not created to take embodiment is saying that they don't come down into a human life. They don't experience as a human, and they don't incarnate as a human being. They just stay archangelic. Grand day, Sarah, welcome. Of course, you pop in on the archangels. So, let's see here. So, angels have many different assignments, but from our vantage point, the most helpful is the angels assigned to help us grow. They are organized according to the 7 rays. So yeah, there's different angels that represent each ray spectrum as well. Then you have the Elohim. The material universe is created from the energies of the 7 rays. And this is done by reducing the vibration of the rays by a certain factor. A mental blueprint is then superimposed upon this energy in order to form the basic structures that make up the material universe. The beings who initiate and oversee this process are often called the Elohi, but they are also called gods and goddesses. Again, there is a masculine and feminine polarity at this level. For example, the Elohim Hercules has a female polarity named Amazonia. You think of Hercules, you think of the Amazonians. Very similar, but different genders. All right. The central sun. Oh, man. So the central sun is, it's not our physical sun, but it is the spiritual sun. It's also connected to Sirius as well. And we'll actually kind of just leave that out for now. Okay. Wow, such good stuff. We'll leave it there when it comes to that. And let's go ahead and let's go ahead and watch another video. And then after this video, we'll go over the 7 rays and the ascended masters of each ray as well. Got some really good content today for you guys. All right, so this video is just going to be another wonderful recap to help us clarify on these ascended masters.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Ascended Masters 101. I am so excited to be talking with you today about something that is very near to my heart, and that is, who are the Ascended Masters? So the Ascended Masters are the saints and sages and mystics who hail from all around the globe and throughout history, who have unlocked the key to immortality and who have graduated from the schoolroom of earth through the process called the Ascension. The Bible holds the record of Jesus making his ascension from Bethany Hill, where he was taken up in a cloud of glory. Elijah, when he was taken up in a chariot of fire, was making his ascension. In short, the earth is a schoolroom, and the Ascended Masters are the graduates. Now, of course, you and I are still evolving in time and space in this schoolroom of earth. We're walking around, bumping into walls, trying to figure out the meaning of life, what we're supposed to be doing with our time, with our lives, who we are, where we're going, how do we get there? I mean, these are the major philosophical questions of our day. The only problem is nobody who's here on the planet fully knows the answer to that because none of us have actually graduated ourselves yet. So now, of course, the first thing you think is there any way to contact or hear from some of these Ascended Masters so we can learn from them and figure out how we can graduate from the schoolroom of earth and make our own ascension? I mean, that would be amazing, right? The answer is yes. And I want to take a moment to appreciate how awesome that the answer to that question is yes, because it used to not be an easy process at all. Spiritual students who were wanting to receive these higher mystical teachings would often have to go through really intense trial and testing in order to be accepted into these inner mystery schools. The book Brother of the Third Degree by Will Garver does an excellent job of explaining this process and what it used to look like for people wanting to receive these inner teachings. I love that book. I just devoured it in like 2 days. So now, thankfully for us, it has been decided that the path of initiation that the Ascended Masters have followed back to their God source would now be made much more publicly available. This path is actually taught by the Ascended Masters themselves. Now, the Ascended Masters live in the planes of spirit, or what you might call heaven. They may teach unascended souls like you and I in cities of light in the heaven world. These are also known as etheric retreats. If we're fortunate enough to be accepted, our souls travel to these super incredible retreats of light while our bodies are sleeping at night. Some people remember their experience when they awake, but for most people, it's more of an increased sense of well-being, a clarity and a sense of purpose and direction in life. It could be insights into how to solve their problems or issues that they're dealing with. Now, for most souls on the earth, this is the main way that their souls learn and evolve towards their ascension. However, the Ascended Masters have made great efforts to reach the souls on the planet in a very real, tangible way so we can receive these teachings in our waking mind as well and hopefully make more swift progress towards our own ascension. And so, throughout the ages, the Ascended Masters have founded numerous mystery schools and spiritual movements and organizations that are dedicated to receiving and sharing these precious teachings from the Ascended Masters directly from the heaven world. Most recently, the Ascended Master El Morya established the Summit Lighthouse movement through his messengers Mark and Elizabeth Clare Prophet. and they actually required vigorous training from El Moria to prepare to be messengers. There are many levels of ascending consciousness in the heaven world, and in order to receive a message from the Ascended Masters, a messenger must be able to raise his or her consciousness all the way up to the 18th level of heaven. It's a sacred and a holy calling to be such a conduit for the Holy Spirit, and it is completely different from channeling or being a psychic medium that we see so much of in spiritualism today, and which is actually quite dangerous. But that's a topic for another video. So these messages that the messengers receive from the Ascended Masters are called dictations. Through their dictations, the Ascended Masters share with us not only the knowledge and the teaching that is needed to have our own victory over time and space, but also impetuses of light and love, support, spiritual gifts and dispensations. I mean, so many gifts to help us in every way they possibly can for us to make it on the path of initiation. I love this quote from the Ascended Master Helios so much I wanted to share it with you. He says, "We are like parents rooting for the Little League team and our sons on the team. We are tender and desirous of showing you that if you will practice and exercise in a 12-month cycle, you can be a greater master of your life and have more adeptship than you do today. If you realize how much we're rooting for you and loving you and teaching you and how present are the masters, you will understand that the greater mastery begets greater freedom. And freedom from the entanglements of the world gives to you the power to help others." That's Helios, volume 27, number 48b. I just love that. It reminds me that the Ascended Masters are just so right there, just beyond our physical sight, reaching out to us, loving us, encouraging us to overcome our lower selves, to master our thoughts and feelings, to become love and action, to embody peace, just to do all these things that the Masters teach us so that we can find our freedom and make it back to home base, safe in God's arms forever. So you've already been introduced to the Ascended Master Helios. The Ascended Masters have told us that there are actually many more Ascended Masters in heaven than souls on earth. I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me. So today I'd like to briefly introduce to you a few more whom you may already know. Jesus the Christ is another Ascended Master, as is his mother, now known as the Ascended Lady Master, Mother Mary. Do you remember the story of Prince Siddhartha, the one who attained enlightenment under the Bo tree? He earned his ascension and became the Ascended Master Gautama Buddha. Today, he is a great teacher of enlightenment through the soul's mastery of the 10 perfections, the 4 noble truths, and the Eightfold Path. He's also the sponsor of Summit University, which is a university affiliated with the Summit Lighthouse that brings together science and religion to teach the path of the ascension. As you can see, Ascended Masters are really busy and involved in the business of assisting mankind. They hold many offices in the hierarchy of heaven, and they themselves are continuing to evolve towards greater and greater states of godhood. So essentially, the ascension is just the beginning. So, to recap, the Ascended Masters are the saints and mystics who have earned their ascension by graduating from the schoolroom of earth and have returned to the heart of God. They are our truest and best teachers, and they show us what we must do to win our ascension. Some of the Ascended Masters we learned about today are El Moria, Helios, Jesus the Christ, Mother Mary, and Gautama Buddha. If you'd like to learn more about the Ascended Masters, I highly recommend the book Masters and Their Retreats. It is essentially an encyclopedia of all the Ascended Masters who have given dictations through Mark and Elizabeth Clare Prophet. It's a pretty thick book, and it's essentially a reference for life about what is known about any of the Ascended Masters. I'll post links below for the books I've mentioned, and thank you all for watching. God bless you.
Wow, that was just awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and continue our text. So now we're going to talk about the spiritual rays. So we're going to be talking about the 7 rays of the material universe. And then with those rays, we'll talk about the Kohans, which are the ascended masters or the leader or the host of that ray, as well as the archangelics of that ray. So this is good stuff to note take on if you're someone that likes to work with the metaphysical world and connect with the spiritual realms. This is a great way to really introduce more conscious activity into your everyday practices, whether you're serving or you're receiving or connecting with self. So the spiritual rays. Why would you care about the spiritual rays? Well, everything you do is done with the energy of one or several of these spiritual rays. The entire material world is made from these rays. That's why we see a rainbow. The rainbow represents the universal material spectrum. Every limitation you face is created out of a perversion of one or more of these 7 spiritual rays. The only way to transcend a given limitation is to free yourself from a belief that created the limitation and be the lower frequency energy that has been generated. The only way to transform the low frequency energy that is created by perverting a given ray is to invoke the pure energy of that ray. Any ray is the antidote to the preserved energy from that ray. In summary, only by knowing the spiritual rays can you effectively identify and overcome the limitations you face. The following is a description of each ray and its pure qualities as well as the perversions. Each ray has 7 spiritual offices held by ascended beings. The Elohim represent an office held by the beings who actually built the material universe. The Archangel is an office held by beings who serve as messengers or intermediaries between the spiritual and the material. The Kohan is an ascended master who is primarily working on helping unascended beings walk the path of initiation that leads towards the ascension. So those are the 3 primary positions of the law of one, or the divine servants of the Creator. And they uphold these positions throughout all of the universe to make sure that it's functioning, maintained, and still continuing. Really cool when you start to fully understand this, because a lot of us, of course, have heard about angels, archangels, ascended masters, spiritual beings, all these different things. And this is giving you the real clarity of how it's organized and how you can actually consciously interact. So the first ray is electric blue, or the blue ray. And this corresponds with the throat chakra, the Elohim, Hercules, and Amazonia, Archangel Michael, as well as Lady Faith. The Kohan, and of course there's more than this as well, but the lead Kohan is Master El Moria. Now you guys can research any of these names at your own free will. The blue ray represents power and will, deep understanding for the creative drive, self-expression, willingness to experiment, and the outcome of what we put forward. Perversions of the blue ray is when we have fear about our creativity and expressions. It's when we abuse our power over others, and a fear of engaging in activities where the outcome can be predicted or guaranteed, which can stifle our creativity. The second ray is going to be the golden yellow ray. The Elohim is Apollo and Lumina, Archangel Jophiel and Christine. And then the Kohan is Ascended Master Lord Lantu. Lao Tzu is another one as well. And then Yeshua balances between the gold and the blue, and the ruby as well. So some you'll see they work with multiple rays as well. Traditionally seen as the ray of wisdom, illumination, and self-knowledge. So this is illumination within, not being able to fall into the traps of the world, falling into separation, but to feel within your core, your being, that you're ultimately connected with the oneness of all. And through that, you can choose sovereignly within yourself to feel joy, to feel happiness, to feel creative, to feel inspired, despite the world's circumstances and despite what's going on outside of your own personal matrix. That is inner illumination. So it's like, we have choices right now. We can either perpetuate the negativity in the world, which takes away our illumination, or we can detach from it, know what's in our control, and do what we can to the best of our abilities and be okay with that, and find the joy that we can in the ability to exist and to have the opportunity to continue to co-create in life. Perversions of this ray, false wisdom, kind of like controlling knowledge, as well as becoming egotistical to where you're just self-consumed. And also too, just being aware of being non-compliant to others. You want to be able to comply with others in whatever fashion is reasonable for everyone. So you just don't want to be getting yourself into the extreme of extreme rebellion, extreme ideologies, to where you can't find any harmony or resolution with others. The third ray is the pink ray. So these first three rays are also known as threefold flame. The blue is masculine energy. The yellow is Christ conscious energy. And then the third, pink, is divine feminine. So the Elohim is Eros and Amora, Archangel Chamuel and Charity, the Kohan Ascended Master, Paul the Venetian. Paul the Venetian is a Venusian from the planet Venus. And if you know about Venus, Venus is the planet of unconditional love. The third pink ray is about love, compassion, charity, appreciation for beauty, and selflessness. So that makes sense. You always see the correlations. Venus, pink ray, love, compassion, beauty. Love can be seen as a balancing force in life. This gives you the ability to experience unconditional love through duality. And this is something that you can call on and work with if you need to let go of possessive energy. If you need to feel a more fluid flow of love to where you're not attaching and holding on, as well as clearing up anything around negative emotions like hatred or control. The fourth ray is going to be the white ray. Elohim is purity and Astria, Archangel Gabriel and Hope. Kohan Ascended Master is Serapis Bey. And this represents purity, hope, and self-discipline. So they say the white ray, since it's number 4 of the 7, it represents balanced purity. So it purifies and balances the rest of the spectrum. So if you're having a hard time with moving through what feels like permanent, unchangeable, or very real experiences, then you can use the white ray to help diminish and loosen up and release any of those kind of attachments or burdens. And of course, there's more to these if you guys ever want to study it. Perversions of the white ray, chaos, impurity. The fifth ray is going to be the green ray, emerald green. Elohim is Cyclopea and Virginia. Archangel Raphael and Mother Mary. So yes, Mother Mary is an archangel, which is pretty fascinating. It would make sense that an ascended master child would have to have an archangel mother. Kohan is Hilarion. So it's the truth and vision. It's also the realization that any opinion of the material world is going to be less than the spiritual truth. Being able to see through the lies of duality, finding the interconnection. Something to look for is if we find ourselves bouncing back and forth in polarity. If we find ourselves going back and forth in polarity, we can call in the green ray to help bring balance to our polarity that we are bouncing back and forth from. It's also why, the heart chakra, the green ray, is in the center of our 7 chakras. Ray, purple and gold. Now, they say purple and gold, but I kind of like to say more like a ruby. It's like a ruby, purple and gold. Elohim is peace and aloha. Archangel is Uriel and Aurora. Venus is also Aphrodite. Yes. In Greek mythology, Aphrodite is Venus. Good point, Sarah. Lady Nada is the Ascended Master Kohan of the 6th ray. It's known as peace through understanding, being unmoved by the dualistic appearances that are pulling at one from all sides. I love that. So it's when you're not bothered by what's happening outside of you. You're just an alchemical vessel. It is the ability to stand in the midst of a raging conflict and feel the stillness within. It is the ability to pull that seeks to draw you into an unbalanced expression of anger, yet you can remain centered and decide that you do not want to go there. When you have this peace, you can then give yourself true selfless service because you can intuitively work to bring harmony into every situation. Harmony is the key to helping people see beyond the dualistic struggle and find common ground. Wow. Inversions are anger, agitation, resistance to change or punishment. And then lastly, the 7th ray, the violet flame. The Elohim is Arcturus and Victoria. Archangel Zadkiel and Amethyst. The Kohan Ascended Masters, Saint Germain and Kuan Yin. And you can also say Lady Portia. Saint Germain and Lady Portia are the main divine union. Traditionally, this is about freedom, forgiveness, and justice, the ultimate transmutation. They also say here that it's about playfulness and willingness to approach life like a child. They give the quote by Yeshua. He says it's in the book of Thomas, "Unless you become as a little child, you shall in no way enter the kingdom." So you got to be able to detach from the world, let go of polarity, and to be able to find the silver lining within all life if you want to be in the kingdom of heaven within your own consciousness throughout your daily life. It's not about getting to heaven, it's about embodying heaven, being able to see the heaven not just inside of yourself, but to be able to see the inside as the outside. and the outside as the inside. So you're not worried about life or the future, and you trust that spirit will protect you and that the mother will nurture you. Perversions of the seventh ray, worshiping at energies outside of us is separate. Impeding upon freedom, so impeding upon others' freedom or allowing your own to be impeded upon. And then also too, just being wary and being careful of if we're blaming the world and blaming others, and we're putting expectations on others to awaken and be where we are. Those things can block our seventh ray, instead of just allowing things to transmute and be what they are. And then I actually talked about the eighth ray. Go ahead and talk about it since we're here. The eighth ray is called the ray of integration. It requires the integration of the positive qualities of the first 7 rays. This means you must have transcended the perversions of the first 7 rays, or they will pull you away from integrating all rays. Kohan is Maha Kohan, Archangel Aziel. The secret chamber of the heart is the location. Sounds like the higher heart chakra. Very intriguing though. That's the 7 rays and all the representatives that you can connect with. And there's also more Kohans for these rays too. But we'll keep it at that for today. Wow, such good stuff. If you guys have any comments, feel free to drop them. Questions. It's been such a great episode. So full of good knowledge. So the last thing I have for us is a video that's gonna tell us about and share where we can attend and connect with the etheric or spiritual retreat spaces and their grid locations on the planet. I figured that'd be some cool knowledge to have. And if you're someone that likes to travel, you like to do grid work, you like to experience the different, aspects of the world, I figured that these locations might be something for you. And who knows what you can activate or interact with coming across these grid locations. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the video on up for us. And that will be our final content. And then tomorrow we're going to be doing an episode about the law of one. So I'm going to go in depth to you and explain to you guys what the law of one is, what it means, and how it affects us in this conscious life.
Hi, I'm Stephen Webb, host of Touring Heaven, your tour guide and traveling.
Okay. Let me go ahead and put it on screen share. Also, by the way, everyone, I do have a master summer retreat up in June. The summer that was weird. But yeah, I'm gonna be hosting my second Ascended Master healing retreat, and it's gonna be in Ohio for the summer solstice in June. And we're gonna be connecting with different archetypes of the divine masculine to help bring balance and complement to our divine feminine. But here's our closing video.
companion, and I'd like to offer you an introduction as to how it's possible to actually go on a tour of heaven. Be prepared to be surprised. We could start with the obvious physical problem, the way we're made. We can't even fly, let alone travel to heaven. And then there's that about heaven. How can you travel to somewhere you can't see and has never been really defined? The concept lends itself to fantasy, yet if heaven is myth and legend, it's been unusually persistent for thousands of years. People wonder if they're going there, and it's a very serious matter toward the end of their lives. Let's begin with a really short trip in your imagination to your bathroom mirror. That's the physical you you're seeing. Everyone knows you as that. But you know there's more to you. You have a mind, a powerful ability for nuanced speech in this and maybe other languages. You can organize and live your life as a project manager, a specialist. You can do complex analysis. But the thing is, none of that amazing mental activity would be any use unless it was integrated with and expressed through your physical body. So there's an invisible mental body completely integrated with the visible physical body right in front of you in the mirror. Of course, the plot thickens because you know there's even more yet unseen in the mirror. You have emotions, otherwise you'd be a robot. Think of the wonder of an emotion like love. It's magnetic. There's no metal circuits to be seen, no measurable electricity. But when you love someone, you're drawn together even before you see each other. When you do see, you run and hug and squeeze and you tell them how you feel. You don't wonder why you're glad, you just are. So there's a second invisible body, mental and emotional now, integrated with the physical body you're seeing in the mirror. So are we done? Is that all of you? Of course not. Where would you be without memory? Without short-term memory, you wouldn't know your name, how to drive home, where the key is, or who these people are that are trying to get into the bathroom wondering why you're staring at yourself in the mirror. And if there's short-term memory, there's long-term memory. This is where things get interesting. How long is long-term memory? And where is all this personal memory stored? This then is a third invisible body, memory, your identity and more. The three invisible bodies, mental, emotional, and memory, are essential parts of you, existing in discrete or separate energy bands, yet they're all integrated with the physical body you're seeing. Without all four working as one very together person, you'd get nothing done. How does this integrated person, this you, connect with heaven? A great observer long ago described the body you're looking at in the mirror as the body terrestrial. This was distinct from the body celestial, but there was no explanation of a kind of bridge between the you that you can see and the implication that there's a you that's heavenly. How would the lower terrestrial and the upper celestial parts of you communicate? The answer comes down to how beautifully and thoughtfully we're made as an expanding identity. There is a kind of bridge between the terrestrial and the celestial you, and it's your memory body. Remember I asked how long is long-term memory and where was all this memory stored? What's your earliest memory? Some people even have memories of being in the womb. Okay, but how and on what occasion would that memory be retrieved? Your memory body is far more expansive than you know. Unlike your mental and emotional bodies, it's not expressive in terms of language, feeling, or active motion. It only communicates with you rarely, through intuition, as needed. So why is your really long-term memory so skimpy with communication? Because it, or you, remembers your pre-life planning. Even before your physical body was forming in the womb, it remembers what your soul, the original you, and angelic and celestial beings agreed would be the plan for this life. The plan listed the big things and the little things you'd accomplish, and the people you'd meet in the years of physical life you've been given. Behind the plan was a purpose, to become a unique image and likeness of God. That's the really long-term plan, stored in your memory body. Realistically, I think you'd agree none of us can accomplish a goal that lofty, the creation becoming one with the Creator, in just one physical life of usually less than 100 years, given the usual interruptions and delays. It's the sacred work of many lifetimes. Your memory body keeps track of your pilgrim's progress on that celestial journey home and accesses it all through the Akashic records, which are like movies of energy imprints on God's primordial ether. Your Akashic records are for selective retrieval through intuition, only if it's really necessary. Otherwise, your mental and emotional bodies would be overwhelmed with billions of big and little events over thousands of physical lifetimes, and you wouldn't be able to cope or concentrate on getting things done in this life. There is wisdom in selective retrieval. So your memory body serves an important purpose, compartmentalizing stored planning, knowledge, understanding, feelings, and actions from long ago that you don't need access to right now. But it also serves as that bridge between your terrestrial body and your celestial body. Your memory body existed before you were born, and it'll still exist when your physical body wears out. In the meantime, it's the essential vehicle for travel to heaven, while your mental, emotional, and physical bodies are fast asleep at night. Your memory body is made of much faster vibrating energy patterns than even your mental activity, and it has no need for rest. It's on, awake, 24/7, so it's made to easily separate from your slower vibrating, sleeping, mental, emotional, and physical bodies, and go with escort angels as the original you has many times after the end of physical lives, heading back for a life review to etheric realms or heaven, where God's energy moves closer to the speed of light. At night, before bed, you consciously ask in prayer to be taken in your etheric or memory body to heaven by holy angels. Will the angels just arrive at your request like that once you're asleep? Actually, yes, even while you're awake. They're made of invisible, very fast vibrating forms of God's light, and they radiate different kinds of divine qualities such as protection. They're your servants, and their reward is to hear you acknowledge them and to put them to work for God's purposes, which is to protect and guide your expanding identity. Don't limit your identity to what you're seeing in the bathroom mirror. If you go outside on a clear night and look up at the twinkling stars, what you're seeing are the spherical, physical bodies of cosmic beings who millions of years ago were once like you. They have memory, emotional, and mental bodies like you, just larger and perfectly balanced. They're now in cosmic service as godparents of solar systems, lovingly preparing the right conditions for and nurturing billions of children of God on planets like ours. They are sons and daughters of God. They express the care of the invisible one God made partially visible in billions of starry forms. Yet even they realize their solar system is just one among billions in this galaxy, and there are billions of galaxies across God's universes, seen and unseen. God, the unseen source of creation, is continuously transcending the seen at the speed of thought. Can you, made in the image and likeness of such transcendent wonder, stare at yourself in the bathroom mirror and think, this is all there is? Of course not. You're a future cosmic being, a son or a daughter of God. Being ever practical, though, you're going to consider a step-by-step approach to what's possible now, which is the ability to utilize a God-given aspect of you to bridge your body terrestrial to your body celestial while you sleep at night. You can go to heaven long before this physical body wears out. You can go every night. There are universities of the spirit offering free tuition, a practical step-by-step education on how to unfold your unique blueprint, the particular plan for which God created you. You're made to be an expression of divinity in this life, not just in a far-off cosmic service. And so I'm offering to be your travel companion, to tour heaven with you and explain things as we visit our elder brothers and sisters there. They don't need to live in our slow-moving world anymore. They're graduates from our world, as will be someday. Some call them saints, some call them ascended masters. I think of them as my friends and teachers. I never take them for granted, and I'm always amazed and humbled to be around them. If you'd like to join me on our first tour, an introductory tour, I think you'll be amazed and humbled too, I hope, at how organized, majestic, friendly, and comforting heaven is. We'll start off our first tour in a famous wilderness place you may recognize from tourist photos if you've never been there. There's a reason for beginning our first tour of a University of the Spirit there, either while physically asleep or while you're in meditation. Open episode 1, and after I introduce myself again, prepare to be surprised, comforted, and I hope inspired. I'm glad to be with you. Let's get going.
How beautiful. I'm really just, I'm really in a casual energy in this moment from this connection today. I don't feel like there's like really much more to express or to really say. You know, I feel like this has just been such a well-rounded episode with the content about who these Ascended Masters are, what relationship we have to them as humans, and what it really means to be on this ascension journey throughout this multidimensional matrix. With that being said, if there's any questions that you have before we hop off of here, if there's anything that you would like to add as well, feel free to drop it in the comments, and I'll stay put for a few minutes. If not, we can get ready to close and continue on with our days. I also want to share with you guys too the graphic for our solstice Ascended Master retreat out here in Ohio. You might have to take 2 tries sometimes to be doing that. It's also a good time to remind you guys as well that you guys can always reach out and book one-on-one healing services with me if you like to receive Reiki, conscious guidance, new ways to develop healthy patterns, to clear trauma, to reprogram, to receive guided meditation, light language activations, chakra balancing, and anything else that you can think of. Just let me know. We can book a session, do a free consultation to start, see what really resonates for you on your journey. And then, of course, my retreats as well. So here's the summer solstice flyer. If you guys want to check that out, you can take a picture of it if you want as well. June 19th to 22nd, Lake Hope, Ohio. Plant-based meals provided, brunches and dinners, camping, ceremonies and workshops like cacao and sound healing, ecstatic dance. And then we already have 3 live music artists as well in our music lineup. Thank you for the valuable info. You're welcome, Sarah. Glad you're here. Yeah, this is a great replay if you weren't able to catch some of this. All right, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. And with that, we'll close. And you guys can tune in later tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the Raw Material Law of One, where we will continue book number 4 of the raw material with Sandy Marshall. All right. (2023) Mother Gaia, third dimensional planet, ascending. Thank you from the Sacred Light Broadcast Network and Sacred Light Productions for tapping in and tuning in to all live and replay content, holistic, conscious, for your empowerment. Tap in to the ChristoLight within. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember that you are the one that you have been looking for. Enjoy this content. If you would like to collaborate or receive production through myself, Marcus ChristoLight, direct message or email me at marcustut23@gmail.com to discuss details. Wholeness and balanced love. Ashe.